from Canberra. So I spent the last 12 years in Canberra working in politics and law, so working for the Attorney General's Department, writing legislation, working for the United Nations, and then running my own human rights advocacy lobbying group that I conducted in the Australasia region. Most recently I've become a legal academic, so I was coming over here to help set up a new law school and finish my PhD. Don't ask me how that's going right now. So of course it's put on hold. The Liberal Party did approach me last year and asked me to run, and I've never been interested in getting involved in politics because of my background. We were a refugee family from communist Romania, and of course government for us was just tyranny and terror. Who wants to be part of that? But for the fact that I'm too passionate, I will not sit by and watch what is happening to our nation. We escaped communism as a family, and slowly I see the ideology creeping in to our nation, and I'm appalled. It breaks my heart, and I'm frustrated that more people are not alive and awakened to what's going on. Of course, the two-party preferred system here in Australia, as in America and in other jurisdictions around the world, is less than desirable now. You know, they've got so much control. They've got so much monopoly, economically and socially, and they have so much control of our minds and of the media, through the media. You know, the silent majority cannot be silent any longer. On the 13th of March this year, 21 days away, who do you vote for? And why do you vote for that person? One great thing about being an independent, it is, I'm not beholden to the Liberal Party anymore. My speeches, my Facebook posts, my presentations are no longer censored, right? So the power of that is, if and once elected, in Parliament there is that capacity to hold both sides of government to account. I'm sure you will agree with me that we don't really have an opposition at the moment in government. So I'm outraged, and you should be too. What happened to me happened, right? It was maybe a great thing, maybe a blessing in disguise even. It does leave me out in the lurch, alone and under-resourced, but that's okay. I've never been afraid of a challenge. So, I'm determined. At the end of the day, I'm passionate, I am focused, and I know how to get the job done. It just takes a team and resources to do it, right? I can't do it on my own. And look, if I'm elected, the battle's just beginning. But it will be the most important battle ever. And on behalf of the people.
Right. Is that available to read anywhere?
Oh yeah, sure. Let me just say a few words to that, because you may not know the story. So I wrote an article in April last year, 2020, at the height of lockdown. So we're all in lockdown, right? And the way I dealt with it is I researched, I read, and I read, and I read, and then I wrote. It's often how I deal with things. So in doing that, I came across evidence and stories and articles that are, you know, pointing towards something a different narrative than what we've been fed, right? And so I put that down in an article, and it was just an opinion piece. It was not an academic article by any stretch. So it's a 3,000 word piece on Cauldron Pool, so it's available on the website. And for some reason, it came to the attention of some unknown person that then brought it to the attention of the Liberal Party mechanism. So I got a phone call from the West Australian, will you step down for this article? And I'm like, who is this dude? Then I get phone call from the gentleman who's been supporting me, upper house member who's been supporting me throughout this process. Look, this is happening, and I've been fighting for you in your corner. I don't know how it's going to go. The third phone call I received was from Zach Kirkup, and he simply said, "You're disendorsed."
Wow.
No due process, no acknowledgement of freedom of speech. In that article, it was entitled, "Are our fears of the coronavirus undermining our freedoms?" Fair enough question, right? Like, we're living it. So it explores a few issues that I stumbled upon in my research. And so I had a choice. That evening I was to speak at a Liberal Party cocktail function. It was 3 p.m. when I received a phone call, and 6 p.m. I was meant to be speaking at our cocktail function, and Zach disallowed me from attending that. So I wasn't allowed to go, and I wasn't allowed to say goodbye and farewell to the volunteers and try and explain from my side of the story what's happening. Of course, the media are hounding me and others and spinning the story, of course. So I had a decision to make then and there, and I sought counsel, and I had several phone calls saying, "It's horrible what's happened to you, all the best, you should run as an independent, but I can't go publicly with my support for you." So I'm sure you can imagine it's been quite a lonely road, but it was at the first phone call that I received, I decided that if the Liberal Party didn't have the gumption to stand up for freedom of speech and back me as their, quote, hardest working candidate, as they've called me, then I don't care. I wash my hands off them. So we need to create alternatives, because the Liberal Party just are not an opposition anymore. They are not a Conservative Party anymore, and they have no values that they stand up for anymore.